last section, we spent some time to make sure that we had a very reusable button component. So now we can place the button component, pass in a prop of onPress, and then whenever the user presses on it, boom, something different is going to happen, which is exactly what we want. So the next thing we need to do is figure out, okay, well, when a user does press this thing, how do we direct them over to their web browser and point them to a very specific URL? So if we were in the browser environment, if we were doing React.js here, we could put in an anchor tag or something like that and just say, okay, anchor tag, whenever someone clicks you, take the user here. There you go. Well, unfortunately with React Native, it's not quite as straightforward as that. There's no concept really of an anchor tag, any way of telling our app to just say like, oh yeah, just automatically pop open a browser. It's a little bit more complicated. Well, it's not that, let me tell you, it's not that much more complicated, but it's not an anchor tag. So whatever, let's just get to it. Inside my browser, I'm gonna pop open the React Native documentation. So here we are. And on the left-hand side, I'll scroll down until I find the section that contains APIs. So here's APIs right here. And I'm looking for a very particular API called linking. So here's linking. So the linking library, which is provided by React Native, is how we kind of interface our application with other apps that are running on a user's mobile device. Included in there, the user's browser. So whenever we want to kick a user over to their browser, we can make use of this linking library. And again, you can also read the documentation in here in case you're curious, and you can figure out how to kick the user over to other apps as well. So you might want to kick the user over to Uber so that they can request a ride, or their email client so they can write an email, or whatever other app the user might have on their device. This is how you interface with it, with the linking library. So for our use case, just sending the user over to a browser, it's not going to be too bad. Let's check out one method in the docs for this thing. I'm going to scroll back down, and you can find on here, linking library has a method called OpenURL. And basically, if we want to add or open up a website, web address, we can just call OpenURL with a plain text, normal, vanilla URL, like an HTTP type URL. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. Remember that in our albums object, we've already got the URL to the Amazon store available as the URL property. So basically, we need to call linking.openURL with this URL, and we should be good to go. So let's give this a shot. Back in my album detail, I'm going to go back up to the top, and I will import the library linking from React Native. And then where I am destructuring off my album object, I will also pull off the URL property as well. So here's our URL. Now inside of our button, we will replace the console log statement with linking.openURL, and notice that it's capital U, capital R, and L. And then we'll just say, yeah, just open that web page right there. Okay, let's give this a shot in our simulator. And I will click the button. Oops. And you'll notice that I got kicked over to Amazon.com, and my simulator is a little bit laggy right now, but here we go, this music album. And automatically on the top left-hand side, I can click back to albums and go back to my application. And I could then go down to the next album, click that one, and there we go. Perfect. So this is exactly what we wanted. This is looking really fantastic. I think there's just one last thing we need to do. We need to make sure that our button at the bottom of each card has a little bit better text than just click me. So let's take care of that in the next section.